anytime that we see, like I said, a special line or special equation, then we're going to apply this HOY and VUX. So right here, I see this equation, and it only contains the letter Y. You know what? It only contains the letter Y. So immediately I'm like, oh, well, if it only has a Y, it's special. So it goes with HOY. And the H in HOY means horizontal line. So horizontal line, I don't know if y'all, like y'all ever hear like the horizon? The horizon is horizontal, so it's going this way. And so we're going to draw a line going this way, or you could just use that poster right up there next to the American flag, and you can see that horizontal is going this way. So we got a horizontal line at -1, and it can only touch the y-axis. So this is -1 right here, so we would draw a line that's horizontal, like that right there, and that's it. And then the slope, so in HOY, the O in HOY, this O stands for 0. Okay, so it looks like a 0, so the slope is 0. Okay, so number 2, once again, they give us the equation. So it's y equals -4. It's only got a y, so it's special. So it goes with HOY again. And it's going to be a horizontal line, but this horizontal line is only going to touch -4. So you go down to -4, draw a horizontal line. And then the slope, once again, the O in HOY stands for 0. It's a 0 slope. Pretty simple, right? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of questions. There may be 2 questions on the STAR test, but man, I'll take 2 questions. All right, we good? All right, so you can see this one, they give us equation again, but this only has an X. So if it only has an X, it's going to be with VUX. So I'm going to go ahead and just write, you don't need to write this, but I'm going to write that down so we can see it. So VUX is a vertical line, and it's got to cross the X-axis only at -3. So we find -3 on the X-axis, and we draw a vertical line. And then the U in VUX means undefined slope. So we just put UND for undefined. Bless you. All right. Number 4 has a special slope. So that's I say special slope, it's a special equation. It just has an X. So it's going to be a vertical line once again, crossing -1. And then the U in VUX means undefined slope. So on this one, they gave us the equations. And then from the equations, just having an X or just having a Y, we were able to figure out what the graph looked like. We were able to figure out what the slope was. On the next one, I think they're going to give us a line. Are we good? Okay. All right. All right, so the next one, yeah, they give us a line. So we're going to look at this line, and then we're going to come up with the slope in the equation. And so we look at this line, it's special because it's not diagonal. So it's a horizontal line. So there's a couple of things that give this away. First off, if you know that it's a horizontal line, then H for horizontal would mean HOY. Okay, and of course you could look up there and see it there too and see that it's connected to HOY. The other thing is this is only touching the y-axis. So when it's only touching the y-axis, that's another thing that would connect it to HOY. It would connect it to the y in HOY. Okay, so if this is connected to HOY, then the slope, the O in HOY means 0. So the slope would be 0. And then the equation, so in HOY, it ends with a Y. The equation has to have a Y equals, it is not allowed to have any X's at all. And then where does it cross the Y axis at? -4, I think. -4. And so it's just Y equals -4, and that's it. Okay, so here's another one that's special because it's horizontal. Okay, whether you say it's horizontal so it connects to HOY or it only crosses the Y-axis. Either way, this is HOY. And the O in HOY stands for 0. And then the equation has to be just Y equals, it's not allowed to have any other letter. And then it crosses the Y-axis at 2, so it's Y equals 2. We good? Okay. All right, number 7. So this time they're giving us vertical lines. So whether you say it's a vertical line, so it's VUX, or you could say it's only crossing the X-axis, it'll never cross the Y. So once we know it's VUX, the U in VUX means undefined. And then the equation would contain only X's. So the X at the end of VUX means the equation contains only X's. And then it crosses at -4. So the equation is X equals -4. Okay, so this one right here is a vertical line once again. So it's VUX. So the slope connects with the U in VUX. The U in VUX means undefined. And then the equation would be X equals, and this crosses the X-axis at 3, so X equals 3. So that right there, I think this might be it in terms of the new stuff. And you can see we did 8 questions and it was like boom, boom, boom. Matter of fact, the only thing that slowed us down was my talking. You know, if I wasn't talking so much, we get through it even quicker. And so as we go throughout, we will you know, continue to see questions that deal with that so that we can, you know, do our best to try to remember. All right. So now we're just reviewing the rest of the stuff that we've been doing this week. So we've started introducing slope, and one of the things that we keep stressing is if you struggle with slope, that's okay. We consider slope to be difficult. If you are good with slope, that's awesome. So slope, whenever you have points, is y minus y over x minus x. Now, here's where I was telling you guys, make your life easy. You know, when I look at something, matter of fact, have you ever asked the question like, why do we have to do this? Like, who's going to use this crap in life? No, not me, right? I mean, I have to teach it, so I have to use it. But like outside of that, you know, are we going to use algebra in real life? No. The people that are using algebra in real life are doing like crazy coding stuff in computers. So if you decide to, like, it's funny because I'll have kids that I'm like, what do you want to do in life? They're like, oh man, I want to create video games. Huh? And I'm like, oh, well, you better get really good at algebra. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like making video games and stuff like that is all coding in the computer. And it is crazy. Like, I don't even understand the algebra. It's so crazy. And so like people that are really using this stuff in real life, they're making tons of money. And all I ask is that if you ever use algebra in real life and you make tons of money, please remember poor old Coach Settles. and come and make a donation to, I'll take a car, I'll take, just anything, a check, just so like I said, if you ever start using algebra in real life, but most of us won't. And so the question is why do they make everybody take it? Well, algebra is about solving problems. And the one thing in life that we're all going to have is problems, right? I mean, every day I got a problem somewhere, right? And so what we try to train y'all to do is that when you see something that you kind of step back and analyze the problem. A lot of people just dive into their problems and they just rush in and then they kind of make the problem worse. You know what I'm saying? And so what we're trying to teach y'all to do is to look at it. So like I have taught y'all that we circle the Y's, but if I do this right now, I'm actually choosing the hard way to do it, okay? I don't want to circle, this is okay, but I really don't want to circle that. I want to stop and look at this entire problem and go, what's the easiest way to solve this problem, And I'll give you, for instance, one time, my mom, so the whole reason I'm down in Texas is my mom got breast cancer, okay? And so my wife's mom had died of cancer. And her dad remarried and she didn't like the new woman. And so she didn't want to be near him anymore because, she missed her mom and she didn't like the new woman he married. Well, then my mom got breast cancer and it was like, hey, let's move back to Texas so I can be close to her. Well, when we moved back, my mom was having to go through surgery and all this stuff, take chemo, all that kind of stuff. So I'm talking with people about how we're going to get her to surgery and how we're doing stuff. Sometimes I was going to be there, sometimes other people were going to be there. And I was talking with my aunt one day, and my aunt's like, well, I'm going to, do this and I'm going to do that. And I didn't think it was the best thing. Well, if I would have just jumped in and started talking with her about why I needed to do it, I would have never convinced her because I didn't have a good logical argument. And so she would have ended up taking it, and I think it would have been a disaster. So like I was getting messages and it's like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was really upset because I didn't want her to do it. But instead of talking with her, I just sat back and I just started thinking about it. I'm like, I just got to think about this issue right now. And so I started sitting there thinking, and I'm like, I need to think about everything. And I just started thinking about it. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I can say now that's going to get her to say, no, I'm not going to do anything, but she's going to let me do it. And so I sat down and I started talking with her, and all of a sudden I get her to see, oh yeah, okay, I hadn't thought about that. And if I didn't slow down and look at everything, the whole picture, if I were just focused in on the one thing she was talking about, I never would have been able to convince her, not to go. And it would have been bad for my mom because my mom and her don't get along very well. So y'all have brothers and sisters, you know what I'm talking about, right? That sometimes that, when your brother or sister around, it just makes it worse, right? Well, that's what she would have done. And when my mom was going through surgery, I didn't want my mom stressed out. So I was like, I need to be there, not you. And so that's why I love what I do, is because it's not that I feel like I'm teaching y'all math and like this math is going to go and change your lives. I think that I'm teaching you how to solve problems, how to stop and look back, how to say, if there's an easy way, why not choose the easy way, right? And so that's what we're doing here is we're going to stop and look at this. I don't want to deal with the decimal. What would I rather deal with? I'd rather deal with this whole number. Does that make sense? And so that's why I love teaching math, is because I feel like I'm teaching you guys to stop and look back and analyze everything and say, okay, what's the easiest bet? What's going to make this best for me? Does that make sense? And so that's what we're doing here is I'm not going to choose these. How are we doing? And I'm going to choose these two right here to solve my, to answer my questions. You need a pencil? There you go. All right, so we're going to go 5 minus 4 on top. And then on the bottom, we always choose the buddy. So 5's buddy is -2, goes on the bottom. Minus, and 4's buddy would be 2. Now, If you're good at that, that's awesome. If you're not good at this, then this is a question I'd get C on and move on with life. So I'm going to go plug this. Oh, okay, it's a Friday. So I forgot to open up my calculator. Should have done that while I was telling my story. Yeah, you should. What is today? 19. All right, so we're gonna go to regular calculator and type this in. So we got, let's see, control divide. And we have, I think that says 5 minus 4. And then minus 2, hit enter. And I got 1/4. So, all right, so the slope is 1/4. I think it was a negative 1/4 actually. Yep, negative 1/4. Okay, so now they want to know the y-intercept. So intercepts are anywhere there's a 0. So when you see all these numbers, anywhere there's a 0. Yes, very good. So 4.5. And the one thing I do want to stress is that to be the y-intercept, the number itself, 4.5, has to be under the y, which it is. So 4.5, and now we can create our equation. So I just want to remind you, it's that second poster right there, where you see the arrow that says slope going up and y-intercept going up. So slope goes next to x, and y-intercept goes at the end. So we're going to go y equals, slope is the m, it goes next to x. So negative 1/4 x, and then the y-intercept is at the back, so plus 4.5. Okay, and then this one right here. So the one thing that I do think everybody should be able to do on this is draw a slope dude. Obviously, you don't have to draw a slope dude. And then to tell me, is this a positive or a negative slope? Negative. It's negative. So that's the one thing I think everybody should be able to do. And then we're going down, or at least I'm going down because I'm starting at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bless you. And then over 2. And so negative 4 over 2. And we reduce that. If we put that in the calculator, it's going to give me a negative 2. The y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis. So if I just go down the y-axis till it touches, let's say this is negative 1, negative 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to say negative 5 right there is where that touches. So the y-intercept would be negative 5. And then we got y equals, the slope would be negative 2x, and then minus 5. I'm going to leave this here for just a second. I'm going to get you caught back up with what we did on the front real quick. Dry looks like she needs a little time on her phone, so I'm going to give her a little bit of time on her phone. All right. So this right here is a new concept. I think that this makes it real easy. So these go really, really quick. So anytime, so first off, all of this top is connected together, okay? Anytime we have a horizontal line, okay, it connects to HOY. So the H means horizontal. It means that the O right here stands for 0, and it means that the slope is 0. And then it has a special equation, which is it only contains y. So it's y equals and whatever crosses the y coordinate, okay? So when you take a look at number 1 and it says y equals negative 1, because it only has a y, that connects to 4. That means you're going to go to negative 1 on the y-axis, and draw a horizontal line, just straight across.
This y, right?
Yes, that's the one. So you'll go down to -1 on the y-axis. So yeah, right there. And just draw a horizontal line. And then, so that's your line, and then you see where it says slope? Just down at the bottom left. So the slope, the O in HOY stands for 0. So the slope 0. That's it.
We'll do that for all of them.
Yeah, so look at the next one. The next one says y equals what? Go down to -4, draw a horizontal line. What's the slope? So because it's horizontal, it's connected to HOY. The O in HOY stands for 0 slope.
Oh.
How we doing? Oh, he is? I enjoyed. We'll see you, man. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.
-3.
Would it be bad if I like yelled down the hall, free Jordan? Would that be bad?
He going home?
I guess, I don't know. Okay, so then the next one, is that what you're talking about? So the next one, okay, so the next one says X, right? So that's gonna connect to VUX because it has an X in it. So the slope in, when there's just an X is gonna be undefined. And then you're gonna draw a line that touches the number on the X-axis. So
That'll be right here.
So it'll be -3 on the X, very good. And then the slope would be undefined, which I just put UND for undefined. And you're good, you're good. But does that make sense? And so the next one was X equals
-1.
-1. So we'll draw a line on -1, and then because it connects to VUX, the slope is undefined. Okay, so the next one, they actually give you the line. So now they're giving you the line.
Which is 0.
And so the slope would be 0. And then the equation is y equals, and wherever it touches the y-axis, it's everything y.
Y equals -4.
No x. So it's just y. It's everything y. So just y equals -4. Yep. And so on the next one, it's a horizontal line, so it's HOY. So the slope would be 0, and then the equation.
Y equals -4. And we got that. Are we looking at the bold line?
Yeah, the bold line.
It'd be probably.
There you go. And then on the back, I think they'll do a VUX. Yep. So it's only crossing the x-axis,
So they'll be undefined.
undefined, and then x equals.
X equals -4.
Mhm. Very good. So I wish there was a ton of that on the star. There's maybe 2 questions. I always tell people I'll take those 2 questions because they're nice and easy. So we'll just as we keep going, you'll see different HOY and VUX questions as we go, just to keep it on our minds. All right. Let's see. All right. So number 11. And you did see, you got both of these, right? Okay. All right, so number 11, we're doing slope again. So slope. And so I'm going to focus in on the y's. So I like to circle the y's. And so we're subtracting the y's on top. So we got -5 minus -8. And then we subtract the buddy on the bottom. So -12 minus 0. And then I'll go plug this in. So we got control of I. We got -5 minus -8. So make sure you put both of those minuses. And -12 minus 0. And I got -1/4. Is that what y'all got? Or is my calculator just putting -1/4 for everything? You did? Okay. All right. I'm one of those people that like on a test, y'all ever get like, you're taking a multiple choice test and you get like 3 or 4 or 5 of the same answer and you're like, oh crap, I screwed up. No, sometimes that's just it, you know, and I just hate it. It makes me think I'm doing something wrong. So, all right. So find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay. So this right here is just like y is by itself. So the slope is always located in front of. So yeah. So the letter for slope is m. And so 2/7. For years, I had told my kids, I have no idea where M came from. I always assumed that whoever discovered slope, like he was married to a Mary or a Martha, and he just like, I'm going to name it M after you. Because why would you call it slope? But I actually read somewhere about 2 years ago, I think, that I think it was like maybe in French or something like that, the word for slope starts with an M. And that's why the letter's M. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like all this time, I didn't know where it came from. And then y-intercept is the B. And I don't care if you put B or you just put like y-int, but y-intercept is always at the end, so it would be negative. Yeah, that's it. So, and that's actually a star question where they'll give you, you know, just an equation like that, and they'll say, what's the slope or what's the y-intercept? And so real easy, there's, you know, once again, I wish there was a whole bunch of those, but there's not. So we just got to make sure we get the one question that they ask. All right. So I still think that x-intercept, y-intercept, like this is just one of those things that they're really easy, and it could be asked on a straight line. It could be asked on what we're covering now in our other classes. So the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. -3. And then the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So everybody always says 2 because it's touching 2, but the line is actually right here. So it's actually 3. And the y is right there too, isn't it? Like the y is right here. So everything makes it look like 2. But yeah, and maybe it didn't print off very well. I don't know. So yeah, it definitely kind of looks a little bit more like it's 2. But yeah, if you see these, what we call tick marks, these little marks right here. And so that is actually the y-intercept. So it's actually 3, but I see exactly why you chose 2. So, and in the end, you pray that the star test is a little bit clear, that it's not, which I don't know if I told you. Yes, that's exactly what I was getting ready to tell you. I was like, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I found out about a week ago that the star test is definitely, we're giving it on the computer. And so, and I know that sucks, but there are some good parts. It's actually easier to skip around and go do the easy ones, which is what I'm going to train you guys to do, is to go find those easy questions. And so that is kind of the good part to that. All right. So this one right here, I don't know if y'all see the key word here, but it's varies directly. So this is butterfly method. So anytime we see varies directly, in the end, like if you don't see it, obviously I would guess C on this question, but you know, if you do catch that varies directly, then the first 2 numbers you see, so I see 10, and then the next number is 70. And then the key to this is label. So 10 hours, 70 miles. So 2, yep. 2 would go on top. And then we have X. Very good. So we got 70 times 2 would be 140. And then 140 divided by 10 would be 14. Let's see. All right. Okay, so when we see X and Y on the same side, And this is, we don't consider this easy, even though y'all might be good at this. There's a lot of people that struggle with this. So anytime we see X and Y on the same side, we're always gonna try to get Y by itself, and we do that by getting rid of the X first. So if this is a negative 4X, we're gonna add 4X. And I will always take the time to remind you that my poster for this is right here. So you can see the first step is always add or subtract X. You can kind of see that we never combine these right here. So you can always use that to help you. So these are gone. Remember to bring down the negative as well, negative 3Y. Okay, we never combine these, so we like to put the X up front, even though it's not wrong. If you put 1 plus 4X, that's not wrong, but we like to put the X up front. And then you can see the second step says to divide by the number in front of Y. So the number in front of Y is negative 3, so we're going to divide everything by negative 3. Now, at this point, I really don't need to rewrite this. We did all this, but what were they looking for? The slope. So all we care about is this, yeah, that negative 4/3, and you look at your answers and it's B. All right, so we do not want to forget how to do just a basic equal sign. So we get to doing all this other stuff and we forget back in unit 1, we learned how to just do basic equations. Y'all remember how to do it? Put it in the calculator under menu 3.1. Yes, menu 3.1. So we'll go to regular calculator. And then we hit menu 3.1. It's in solve. Remember that you're not done until you put comma X. So we're going to go. And I've got bad news. Like, kids always complain, like, why do you make these so long? Because on the STAR test, they don't give you small equations. And so we want y'all practicing typing this in without making mistakes. And you have to have those parentheses in the middle there. So it's got to look exactly like it. All right, so when we get all that done, I got negative 4. Is that what y'all got? Mm-hmm. All right, good. All right, so on this, so remember that anytime it has an inequality symbol, we change it to an equal sign. Now, the bad part to this is it usually doesn't give us the answer. Sometimes it does. Usually what it does is give us a 50-50 shot of getting this right, okay? Unfortunately, the only way to guarantee that you get it right is to work it out. Well, I'm not going to work it out. So we're just going to type this in. So we're still doing menu 3.1. And we're going to type this in. So minus, and then parentheses, minus 5x minus 2, close parentheses, minus x. And then make sure you put the equal sign. And then 4x minus 3, comma, x. And then, like I said, even when you see no solution, oh, so it almost kind of looks like you typed this in twice or something. Oh, I think you like combined, like somehow you combined it with the previous equation up here.
Oh.
I'm just going to delete it. There you go. They give you no solution? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, here's the sad part. Even on this, when it says no solution, and I'm going to put no solution as my answer, that doesn't guarantee it's no solution, believe it or not. And so the calculator, because of the fact that we're not using the proper symbol, it can get us close, but it's really, we know it's either no solution or infinite, but I'm not guaranteed anything. And so I'm just going to put no solution. And just looking at this, I do believe no solution is correct, but I'm not even guaranteed because it just depends on like the greater than symbol. So it's really tough. And so I just say put it in the calculator, whatever it says, that's your answer. All right, number 18, we have a key word here. What's the key word?
Range.
Range. And what letter is range? The first poster at the top, it's the Y's. So the important part here is, if you remember, we're going to crop this. So it's Friday. He's happy it's Friday. Yes. So we remember this is a picture and we're cropping the picture. And so when we crop it, our lines have to cross the y-axis if it's y's. Oh my gosh. So here I'm supposed to be teaching y'all to do that, and that's exactly what we should be doing. A good test taker always looks at the answers first. Immediately you get rid of these. It's not all real numbers, because all real numbers only goes when there's arrows. The answer has to be A, and you didn't have to do anything. Very nice. Golly, I hate it when I don't follow what I teach y'all to do myself. You know what it is I get so excited I get to draw a happy face, or, sometimes I draw my Ninja Turtle.
How did she do that?
So as a good test taker, one of the things that we always do is look at our answers, right? So range has to be Y's. Both of those have X's. They can't have X's. All real numbers, you only get all real numbers when there's arrows, and there's no arrows here. So the only answer that even makes sense is that right there. So that is awesome. Oh, I get mad at myself when I don't do I just got there. You weren't here when we were talking to Jordan. But one of the things I love about teaching math, nobody's going to use this stuff in their life. But the reason everybody has to learn it is we teach y'all how to solve problems, right? Everybody has problems. I have problems every day. And so one of the things I teach y'all not to do is not to have what we call a hard focus. We want y'all to see the whole picture. Well, guess what I just did? I had a hard focus. I never even looked at my answers, And we always want to choose the path that's the easiest if we can, the easiest that works. All right, so domain, this time I'm going to look at my answers. Unfortunately, there's nothing here that really helps me. Domain is X's. And do this one number at a time. So start with -1 and look at your answers. If it doesn't have a -1, mark it off. So don't try to look at all these numbers and find all the numbers at once. So this does not have a -1. But these two do have a -1. So then we're going to look at 4. This one doesn't have a +4. So the answer's got to be D.